Oh, no, we're live. Okay.
So, welcome everyone to the first kickoff meeting. I prepared some slides, and yes, we have 5 attendees. Where is the wiki page to take some notes? So, the meetings here. So, who is online? Even Lars and there's one letter. So we attendees. Okay. So can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
So I prepared a little list what needs to be discussed in this meeting or in the next meeting, so we get a starting point and can start to implement things. And I think we should start to get each other to know. Some people are already known to each other. Then we should discuss what's the name for the group and the repository, if the starting name is okay or if there are better names. We should discuss the maintainers, who gets more access rights to GitHub, to the wiki, and so on. I will present the current development infrastructure. So what is online, which Web 2.0 features can be used. I've prepared a little roadmap and a list of goals which we should achieve. And a big question is also the license and contributor license agreement question. Maybe we can start to discuss this today. Then I think I and Lars, we can present some items on the work in progress. We have a list of proposals and some code is online at GitHub. We have a first stage with testing infrastructures, and the last point is how we will organize the next meetings and what's the format for the next meeting. So some people already know me. I'm from Dresden in Germany. I'm an employee at the university here, at the Technical University in Dresden, and I'm a master student, and I'm also employed as a scientific research assistant, so doing stuff which needs to be done. I'm also involved in teaching in computer architecture, computer engineering, VLSI design and debugging, and especially in FPGA programming. And I'm doing this since 6 years. My research is focusing on platform-independent IP cores. So we write IP cores for currently 3 FPGA vendors. All tools are working on different platforms, and you can switch between platforms and target devices, and everything works with the same VHDL code. My bachelor thesis was about high-speed serial communication, especially a serial ATA controller. And yeah, I'm also involved in debugging techniques and testing for the VHDL code and on the device itself. And another interesting part is we are working on the integration of FPGAs into a cloud environment or into a data center. So yes, my projects, as I said, a big controller, UDP IP stacks, a system on chip, and 10 gigabit Ethernet communications. So most of the work is for high-speed I/O. My open source activities are focusing on the POC library. Some people already know it. It's a big collection of IP cores. Then I have a second library. It's called PicoBlaze library. It's a 8-bit microprocessor from Xilinx. It's more or less free to use, and I developed a little ecosystem around it. Then I had a playground. It's called JSON for VHDL. It's a parser for JSON files, so you can read JSON configurations and process them in VHDL. And I'm also involved a bit in the GHDL project, and I'm developing the compile scripts for Windows and the integration for Windows. Yes, yeah, I'm working with the IEEE group on the VHDL standard for the next revision. Some people already can find my answers at Stack Overflow if I find the time to answer complex questions on VHDL. And another activity started by the university is to teach computer science for primary school children. So it's a big hit here in Dresden. We get many questions from schools if we could teach what is computer science and what does a computer do. So yeah, that's me. And I think we can go to the next person's. Lars, will you continue?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I can do that. So Lars Asplund is my full name. I'm working as a consultant and has been doing that for, well, I guess it's almost 20 years now. I started, I graduated from university in 1998. And my first year was very much FPGA projects, much radar systems, medical image processing, and so on. And then at some point, I think it was in 2006 or 7, there was a downturn and we had to find work elsewhere. So I started doing some software work, still doing image processing type of work, more with DSPs instead of FPGAs. And then I kind of got stuck in software for quite some years. And during that time, VHDL 2008 was released, and I thought I just for the purpose of not losing my skills in VHDL, I started to I bought a book and wanted to do something to just try it out, and that something eventually turned out to be VUnit. But I continued to work with software mostly. I got inspired, of course, by the way that software people develop code and test their code. So that's the reason for doing VUnit. But then eventually this spring, I finally left software for a while, and now I'm involved in an FPGA project at a company called Autoliv here in Sweden. And they are, in general, developing safety products for the automotive industry. And I'm involved in the vision products. So if you buy a brand new Mercedes E-Class today, you can have something that is driving for itself much of the time, and that is Autoliv vision products doing that, or part of that. Yeah, I think that's pretty much. Yeah, I think that's sufficient for now.
Okay. The next on my list is Lieven.
Hi everyone. Lieven de Mingre. I work for Sigasi, which is a company that makes IDE tooling for VHDL and Verilog and System Verilog. I'm a software guy, so I develop a front-end compiler for VHDL. I'm also active in the VHDL standardization group, and I've been doing this for about 6 years now. So, and in the VHDL group, I've been active for 2 years, I guess. that's it basically.
Mm.
Okay, Thorsten.
Yeah, I'm doing FPGA stuff at a company called Secunet, which develops some kind of VPN gateways for the internet, for public authorities and military and something like that. So we are doing cryptographic stuff and high-speed interfaces. The main product I work on is our PCI Express cards, which are doing network and cryptographic operations for IPsec, some kind of IPsec in hardware. And we are running Linux on the server, and our cards are accessed through self-developed drivers. So mainly we are using all FPGA without Altera. We are using Microsemi, we are using Xilinx, we are using Lattice, and the tools that come with them. So I have most experience with Microsemi because that's the FPGA which is on the server side, on the host side. Mainly, I have many experience with PCI Express, memory drivers or memory cores, ZRDs, and something like that. And I'm the guy in our company on our team which is which drives the further development of the testing and simulation. So as we are not using vUnit now, but I think we will use it sometime. I hope. But I have 3 other colleagues which have to use it also. It's not very good if only I use it. So mainly, yeah, verification synthesis since 2007. Yeah.
Okay, so the next in the list was the last one. Yeah, the last one. Yves.
Yeah, hi everyone. My full name is Yves Ide. I'm from Belgium. Currently I work for Nokia in the fixed access network department. We mainly design FPGAs and ASICs for doing some network processing. It's very custom-made processing. I have 6 years experience, I think, yeah. Same like Livin, same age. I'm new to this open community, so I hope I can contribute something. I'm very interested. I'm always interested to know, to learn new ways to test, and because now at our company we're trying to use UVM, and it seems tedious to me. So I see here the design for vUnit looks very interesting. Also seen some links to CocoaDB. I have to, yeah, work my way through it, I guess, to know your projects a bit better, and yeah, that's it, I guess.
Okay, so Jim is not online, or has anyone seen him?
No.
No. So normally Jim would attend to the meeting. He's the guy behind OSVVM, and maybe we have him online in the next meeting so he can present OSVVM and his view to testing and functional coverage.
It could be that he gets online at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay. We can go back to the personal presentation later. So slides. Share for everyone. Yes. Organizational stuff. Yeah. So the name for the group. It's the first point on my list. I got the name, the GitHub organization name, VHDL, from a guy in Austria. So this URL is reserved for us. But what should be the long name for the group?
That's a tough one. I think in general, I guess I had similar thoughts when we created VUnit and what should the name be, and I think that for a unit testing framework, the name is pretty much given. You take the first name, the first letter in the language, and then you append unit. So it's JUnit, CUnit, CPP unit, and so on.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that might be good considering is that it would be good if we can own that name in various, Facebook, Twitter, that we can have a name that we can create accounts for in various namespaces.
Yeah.
So I have that for many of those, but not for all of them. And yeah, that it might not be terribly important, but it also might be something to consider.
Also, the name doesn't necessarily have to mean anything. For instance, there's a commonly used Java library by Google named Guava. And there's probably some kind of a meaning behind that, but Guava is just easy to remember.
Yeah.
And everybody knows what you're talking about in the context of Java, what Guava is.
Yeah.
I think C++ has an open source library group called
Boost.
Boost, yes.
Yeah.
So we don't necessarily need, like, I don't really like, for instance, the name of Jim's library is OSVVM. It doesn't roll off the tongue, you know?
Yeah. I think it's related to the UVM and UVVM and other stuff. So everyone uses VM, and so.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a letter soup after a while.
Yeah.
Like VHDL.
Mm-hmm. So we don't have to follow that tradition.
No, I agree.
We needed
there could also be trademarks involved. I mean,
yeah,
we cannot take just any name, so I guess we have to do some research on that as well.
Do we? Maybe an easy action is to make a wiki page about this, collect a few proposals, and then we can discuss and decide on the next meeting. Because I mean, I don't think it's useful to have a brainstorming about.
Yep.
We have a lot of other things to do as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Of course, I hope we don't defer everything, but.
It's made broken.
Ah, wikis.
Normally, it's a very good wiki.
I'm just saying this because the VHDL wiki for the VHDL working group, IEEE working group, is really, really horrible.
I found my fault. So group name, enter, and so and So, do we need more nodes? So we think the conclusion is to start a proposal to
Yes.
collect names.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think the next item is repository name. My suggestion is CoreLib for core library. Original, I'm a .NET guy, and Microsoft has a MS CoreLib DLL. There's the basic stuff in it, and I googled a bit for core library, and I found that Swift has a core library, and the first sentence is it's a library that provides higher level functionality based on the standard library, and I think that fits our goal. We are developing and presenting more functionality than the current IEEE basic libraries. So my suggestion is CoreLib.
Oh, that's
What
good.
I can live with it.
The really interesting question is the casing, not the name. But I'm happy to postpone that discussion.
I'm using upper camel case.
So no, yeah, many people do so.
So you're suggesting core_lib.
That's
No, I'm not.
Snake
No,
case.
I mean, I use Snake Eyes myself, but I think, yeah, I think we probably shouldn't start this discussion today. But I think in the end, if we want to have many people submitting code, we might want to live with the fact that people use different casing. I mean, as long as we don't, both casings are readable. I think as long as we don't mix casing in the same package, then we should be okay. I think it will be a risk that we're never going to leave that topic if we start to discuss that. So I'm okay with camel casing. I mean, I use camel casing when I'm typing other languages. So
What does VUnit
it's just
use internally? What naming convention does VUnit use? Camel casing?
Oh, yeah, we use camel casing for the VHDL part, and then we use for the Python part is the so the PEP8 and PyLint
Yes.
linting tools we used, and that's a mixture between camel casing and Snake Eye, depending on if it's a class name or if it's a variable and so on.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, we also have OSVVM as a submodule to our Git repository. Just for the convenience, originally when we started to publish VUnit on GitHub, OSVVM didn't have a GitHub account and it didn't compile with GHDL, so we made some modifications. Now they support GHDL and they are on GitHub, but we still keep it as a submodule, and they, of course, as you all know, are using camel case. So I don't mind mixing as long as you kind of keep one style in each source file.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So for the nodes, CoreLib is okay, and what case style?
But for the repository name itself, it does not matter much.
No,
Yes.
I think the discussion is probably more interesting for the actual code in the end.
Yes.
Yeah.
Change it here.
Actually, when talking about it, VUnit is camel case.
Yes.
I didn't think about it until now. Yeah, it's camel case.
So the next point on my list is I think we need a list or a group of maintainers. I don't want to do all the job here to administer the GitHub accounts and the wiki and so on. So I would like to grant the access rights to other persons. And the question is, who is willing to do the job? Do we need an election, or can we say, okay, we know those people and we trust them?
Yeah, I think my personal opinion is that we should have a bunch of people that have access rights, because over time people will have more or less time to get involved. So as long as there are a few of them, there's always someone that can do the job when it's really needed. We need to fix something and someone have the time to do so.
But
and they need to have the access rights as well.
it's not required to have access to a repository. You can always do a push request or a pull request.
Yeah.
And actually, I think if we want to maintain the quality of the repository, I think we should suggest that the people who can actually merge in changes should be small.
Yes, and with additional rights, I don't mean the right to push code. So currently we have a small list of active developers. So as Lars has access and Thorsten has access, they can push directly to the CoreLib repository. What I mean is the additional right to be an owner of the group, of the organization, and so on. So who has access to create new repositories, to grant other users access and such special rights.
Yeah, that doesn't have to be many. I mean, I was more talking about the right to push code maybe without doing a pull request.
Yeah, this list can be much bigger, but my question here is about the small group doing the integration and has maybe the last word to say you need more test cases and you need to fix this coding style to obey to our rules before it gets merged.
Is it possible to set up different access rights to develop and to feature branches? Or is it the same for every branch? I'm not sure about that.
Currently, there's no special rule in GitHub.
Yeah.
You can do it if you set up your own Git server. Then you can restrict rights to the branch names.
Okay.
But it's not implemented.
I think it's enough if you have a second maintainer or something like that, like Patrick now does, and which has to be some guy which is involved in testing or knows how to test, I think. And,
yeah.
And which has the time and which can contribute. And so I think a second one is enough, I think.
So this is the current list of people assigned to the organization. And here's a list for special access rights. So currently Jim Lewis has special rights and my person because I created everything.
Maybe in this case, a third one was very good because Jim hasn't so much time, I think.
Yes. Yes.
And maybe someone which has more time at the moment and in future would be good to be the third person. Maybe Lars, I think. For me, it would be a good one.
That's always a question. That's always a question about time. I guess it's hard to know from the beginning how much time will be required.
Yeah, I think
But maybe we can, for ourselves, think for a while and say that okay, I would be willing to commit to that kind of time. So we don't have to decide today, but I think people should.
I think for now, it will not be that much work.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
or I am underestimating it, but I don't think that you should expect like a huge amount of work from this part.
I think currently everyone is involved in writing proposals or uploading existing code.
Mhm.
So to get the branches started with code and test cases.
Mhm.
And then there will be a hot phase when we have to look at the implementation, do the review if the interfaces are good.
Yes, but the reviewing, I think, could be distributed amongst all of us.
Yes, of course.
So
Lars, can I click on owner?
Yeah, you can click on owner.
Okay.
Perfectly fine.
Maybe.
But you're right. I mean, if I look at VUnit, where I do spend quite some time, it's not the administration of the GitHub account that takes the time. It's maintenance of code that takes time, and developing new code and answer questions and everything that comes with having many users, really.
So if I go to the next tab here, we have currently 3 teams, and access rights are maintained with these teams. I created 2 teams for the CoreLib, the developer team and the maintainer team. And this is the way we can administer the access rights to the repository. And developers. So currently these 3 people have direct access to push commits to the repository. Everyone else can do the fork and pull request flow. If one wants access, he can contact me and I will grant the access, or Lars can do it now.
Yeah.
But currently there are no other developers asking for access and to share code. Others are involved in writing proposals or developing their ideas. So we have a maintainer. So can we go to the next point on the list, or are there questions?
Go ahead.
Okay, so the integration. So yeah, we already saw we have GitHub, we have the organization name, that's all known. Developers have access to it, they can push. If I use my Git tool here, we can see there are many branches active, and some people have already contributed code here. I'm trying to get Travis to run with my compile scripts, and if it's working, then we have integration with Travis, vUnit, and GitHub. So where's the slides? Here. So external contributors can still use the fork, push, and pull request flow, or they can ask for direct access and they get it. The branching model. Who has used Git before?
Yeah.
With extensive branching or more like in the SVN flow?
At work, we use product branches, and these are the official branches, which are which are used to make release candidates and the final releases. And every developer can use much more branches, like feature branches, that he have to merge in the or rebase in the product branch before a release is done. So we have a small amount, like 5 or 6 branches for every product, one branch.
Okay. So my suggestion is we have a master branch for the final releases. We have a release branch. Where is it? This one here, where we collect finalized proposals, and every proposal or package is developed in an own feature branch. It can be reviewed and changed, and developers can share feature branches between them. And if a feature is complete and the test cases are all met, then the feature gets integrated into the release branch. And if this is all working with existing code, then we can bundle all the commits and create a new release. We are using this flow in the POC library. It's not externally visible on the GitHub page, but we have an internal bigger repository, and this is using this flow, and it's working very good. So for example, everyone can create as many branches as he needs. The branch name is username / and then the feature or master if you want to use a master branch for your own. So Lars started a strings operation branch, and if I go back here, he started it from the master, committed something, and I branched from his strings operation. So we have here Lars strings operation to my branch here, and we are sharing the code among our 2 branches. And if we think it's all done, then we can merge it into the release branch. So this is the idea behind the branching model.
Okay. Do we... At our company, we have rules about how a branch is named. I'm not sure if it's relevant here. Typically, I like it when a branch, especially a feature branch, is linked to a specific issue.
Like in a bug fix
Basically,
issue, or
yeah, like a bug fix issue, or maybe the main issue to implement a certain proposal. It's just easier to find your way back if you're looking at all branches. And it may be interesting to have a similar approach to commit messages that you can reference issues.
So for example, here I have created 2 proposals in the wiki. One is called physical type, so I use the name physical, and one is called components for synthesizable functions. And I'm using this shorter name here as a branch. And in front as a prefix my username.
Mhm.
And if more developers are working on one feature, we can create a feature name in the main namespace. So you get a GitHub
Okay.
/ feature, where we can share ready to release feature implementations. But
Okay.
if you are only 2 developers, like in the strings operations thing here, I don't think we need a strings operation branch in the root namespace.
Okay.
But if you are 3 or 4 people, then it's more likely to use such thing.
I think I'm also used to that way of having branch names starting with an issue number. That's also what I use at work. I'm not entirely convinced that it's necessary for this, but I think at least we should try to move issues as soon as possible from being something discussed on the wiki to being an issue on GitHub, because then you have more
Traceability.
means to relate the issue with the code that you check in. Because when you check in, you can say this relates to hash and then the number of the issue. And when you commit the final piece, then you can say closes hash number, and then the issue will be automatically closed and so on.
Yeah,
so there
but
are
I think
features I think can use.
for the starting, we don't have any issues yet, and it's starting with a proposal name itself. And if it's implemented or merged into the first release, and then we get issues, then we can start this naming scheme. But for the starting here, I think it's good to have only the proposal name.
I think a feature like a new method for an interface could also be an issue. You don't have to use the name issue as bug, because it could also be a feature request or something like that. And maybe for the dictionary type, the question which occurs on the wiki could feed into issues. Maybe the get size function or something like that could be an issue, and then you can, when you make a commit to close this issue, you have a real yeah. You can after this you can see, yeah, like Lars and even have said. I think that would be a good idea, maybe to transfer some of the questions or from the wiki to separate issues, maybe.
I think at least the wiki is kind of, I think, might be good for the initial discussion when people may just ask, do you think this is a good idea, kind of question. But as soon as we start committing code, I think it might be good to have an issue.
Yeah.
On the unit, we actually don't use the GitHub wiki at all. I'm not sure if that was a conscious decision, but it more or less turned out that, okay, issues is where people do proposals, or if we're just about to discuss an idea we have more loosely, then usually the Gitter room is where we have such discussions. But of course, if you do that discussion on Gitter, it's kind of hard to go back in time and see what was actually said and so on, because you cannot search and so on. But I think at least when you start committing code, then it should be an issue somewhere.
Yeah. My idea for the wiki was to get, I will present it later in the next slide, to get a list of existing open source projects. So we get an overview, what it's already there, and that we have a basis or basic for the discussion on the interface, what should be implemented in a proposed package. And if we are going to the implementation itself, then we can move it all to Gitter and to issues in GitHub. But for the starting, to have a list of methods and so on, I think a wiki is a good starting point.
I agree with that.
Has anyone a ZenHub account?
I haven't used that yet.
I have as of 2 or 3 days now. Yeah.
Okay. ZenHub is a plugin for GitHub. I think it's internally it's like an overlay because you need to add a plugin into the browser. Then you get this ZenHub icon on the right corner. And if I switch to our POC library, then I can show here you get 2 additional items, board and burn down. And if I click onto burn, you get a new view for your issues. You can organize your issues in swim lanes. You can rename them, and you can implement a flow. So new issues are placed here by GitHub itself. And then you can drag and drop issues to the next list to do or to group them. Like it's a tool issue, it's an infrastructure issue, an IP core issue. You have, in our case, we have a list for in progress items. And then there's a list of closed issues.
That's very nice.
And you can click on the issue, you get a pop-up window here. You can organize everything here. Projects, that's new. Yes, you see here the pipeline or the swim lane. You can manage the linking to the milestone. You can estimate the time or the hours you will need. You can assign as regular. And then if I go to burn down, I think I need to close version 1. Normally you get a list of issues solved for the next milestone, and you can see how good is your progress. So you see a chart over the time, how many issues get closed in the last weeks or so. And then you can select the last open issues and move it to the next milestone, or say, okay, this is good for a sprint implementation, and close the last issues and finish the revision.
Okay. Probably only the owners have full access to this.
No, I don't.
I
think if you
have write access, you can change everything.
Okay.
But the users need a ZenHub account. You can log in with your GitHub account, but we can't share one VHDL account for every developer.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we need to pay for the enterprise version.
Okay.
But every private person can register at ZenHub, then it's activated, and you can see our arrangements with items.
Yeah, I think if you were to select my name, you would see one issue which I moved from the original pipeline stage to in progress, I think.
Where did we test it, in CoreLib or on Playground? Oh, here.
Oh, it is there. Yeah, it's in CoreLib. So it said that at the bottom I changed the pipeline stage from new issue to progress.
Okay.
Everyone can see that. So that Scrum board or Kanban board or whatever you call it it's not private. Everyone can see that.
Hi, Jim.
Hello.
Hello.
Finally clawed my way through this.
So this is ZenHub, and I think I go back
I think not everyone has to use it, or it's not mandatory to.
No, it's not mandatory. It's more a feature for maintainers to organize the issues in groups
Because
and
I
to
tend
review the process.
I tend to use a small amount of tools and not. I see 8 tools, 7. I know one of them. Two.
You want to maximize how many times my head spins around.
Yeah. Maybe we have some of them shouldn't be mandatory, but some of them should be, I think.
Yeah. So this is just an additional feature to organize the issues if you have more than 10. And I tested it, and for me it's working very well.
Okay.
So we have a new attendee, Jim.
Yeah, he just went off somewhere.
So I only have to make a ZenUp account, and then I can use it in every of my repositories if they are open.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, in every repository, no restriction.
And they use I think the GitHub authoring, and so when I visit GitHub, then I get these 2 buttons for my repositories.
Yes.
Okay. I have to try that. Looks interesting because we had at work we have looked after some small Kanban boards, and and would be a good starting point for me.
So right here I see there's a new tab. It's called Projects. I don't know it, so I think I have to visit ZenUp and view the next video. The alternative product from, how's it called, GitLab. They have it integrated into the GitLab tool flow itself. They have the same features, but a nicer video presentation. So if you want to get known to the feature, you can look this video at GitLab.
Okay. I know GitLab, we thought about using it at work, but no one has time to install it on the server.
Okay.
It looks very complicated with Docker and stuff which I don't know. I heard of this stuff, but I don't know how it works, and I will not do the work.
So I see Jim is back.
Mm-hmm.
We had a short introduction of the attendees to the meeting. Maybe you can say some points what you're doing and what OSVVM is, and so everyone knows what you're doing.
What is OSVVM? It's the start of a methodology for test benching to try to make VHDL competitive with System Verilog. So it includes the released library right now includes functional coverage, includes randomization utilities, includes memory creation utilities. What else?
The scoreboard is the next feature.
The alert log package. And the scoreboard package is officially been announced that it's going to be released, but the 07/2016 release hasn't happened yet. I suspect it'll happen by the end of the month because I've already finished regressions and stuff. Now once I got past the stupid issues of transferring everything to a new machine.
Okay, and you are the, how's it called, the chair of the working group, of the VHDL working group.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I know most of these guys. I mean, I know everybody except Eve.
He's from Belgium.
Yeah. Hi, Jim. Yeah, I'm new to the OP community, so I'm more like a spectator right now. All I can say is that I have 6-year experience in designing ASIC FPGA. I'm currently working for Nokia, and that's it.
Okay.
Very cool. So Nokia is still doing a lot of VHDL?
Well, I worked for Octalucent, and they bought us the fixed access group, and we're designing network chips. So yeah, we're designing in VHDL, but also in Verilog. It's a mix.
And your verification environment's VHDL, or is it System Verilog?
It's also a mix, and also with Tickle.
Okay, why not?
Yeah.
So we ended with SenHub. Read the docs. Who knows read the docs?
What's the motivation for read the docs?
The motivation is if you push your code to GitHub,
Yeah.
it's creating an event. Read the docs will fetch your code and extract the documentation from the code and generate the documentation up to date. So there's no delay between writing code and mostly you have inline documentation in the code and presenting or publishing the documentation. So if you change an interface on a method in a protected type, just change it, push it, and 5 minutes later, the documentation is up to date.
But how about adding a new one?
A new one of what? A new package?
Method, a new overloading of something.
You are writing a basic document in restructured text. That's the language for it, and you are referring to existing methods. So
Restructured text, that's just a fancy new generation of NROF.
it's like Markdown.
Yeah.
It's just another syntax. So I can show our example from the POC library. That's not good. Latest. So I wrote the main articles for the documentation by myself.
Yeah.
And we have a little tool that creates the documentation for the IP cores. So my work is now to write the documentation for the namespace itself. So POC has namespaces for, let's take this one, for arithmetic modules. And I have to list every module here, but the internal documentation per IP core is generated by scripts. So I can go to the source code. We have this file header here, and there's a block between description and license. And we have a little Python script that extracts all this information here and generates the text above here. Mm-hmm. And it's also looking for the beginning and ending of an entity. And this code is copied into the documentation part here. I'm also working on a better parser for packages. Just now it's under developing here at the university. But my goal is to extract public functions, public constants from packages and type declarations. And then we get a full list of every public member. So this is the goal for my current VHDL parser.
Can you refer to other entities or
yes,
packages?
Let's take our synchronizer package. So I wrote this title page here for our synchronizer packages. If I go to the sync bits implementation, I have a box here, see also, and it's linking to other implementations.
Okay.
And in the source code, there is a restructured text for it. See also is a marker for our parser to know now it's now the next code is for a box, and then : doc : tick page name
Yes.
is the link to the
Okay.
So
other code.
something
Yep.
like Doxygen, but
Yeah, the underlying tool is Swings, and it's used by the Python documentation. So Swings is a next layer on the original implementation by Python, and it's open for other languages like C and Java and whatever.
Python. We use Swings for documenting our Python APIs for the unit as well.
Yeah.
But we have no real solution for how to document VHDL code in that way.
And I'm on a new plugin for the Swings API, so that VHDL can be used in Swings too. Currently,
Yeah,
there's no native support,
Yeah.
but you can implement plugins, and I'm working on this feature.
That's great. Looking forward to that.
So
but
yeah,
without
that's
without the plugins, it's not usable for VHDL, or have I understand that right?
yes, the current plugins are not usable for VHDL
Okay.
because you need to pass. If you want to get the full features, you need to pass the file, and then you get additional commands like I showed here with the doc command. You then get commands like method, type, subtype, and so on, and you can refer to a subtype declaration in a package in a special namespace.
And you have to write special commands to use them in the read the doc tool. That's the summary, I think.
Yes, so my parser has to parse a file, generate a in-memory representation, and then I have to implement new commands for the restructured text. So you get additional commands because VHDL has more than functions and procedures. And then both sites are linked to each other, and you can refer with the command to an existing code line in VHDL.
Okay. But that is more. There are two things you have to look at. The developer has to write the right comments, and then the maintainer or one of the maintainers have or controls the infrastructure to generate the docs, I think.
If the plugin and my parser is ready to work, then we ship the Python code for the plugin with the repository. Everything is checked out on read the docs servers.
Okay.
The plugin is activated, and it's running as a preprocessor before the real compilation.
Okay.
And then everything fits together.
Everything comes with the repository, and so read the docs don't have to get all information through these scripts it looks for.
Yes, read the docs itself is just a build server for Swings.
Yeah.
So they have a big Python installation. They do a cleanup on the disk, check out your repository, start Swings with all plugins and so on. It's generating the code. Normally it's HTML, and then it's uploading the generated files into the web server.
Okay.
And then you have the newest release of the documentation.
Okay. Yeah.
And another advantage of Swings is you can create the documentation on your local machine. So you can start swings.run, or like the script is called, and the documentation is on your local machine.
Okay. So that is 1 point for the coding style, I think, that you have to write. Maybe you have to write a special command above each method or something like that, so that you can generate meaningful documentation.
Yeah.
Maybe that should a point. Maybe for the coding style.
Yeah. So for example, here in the description text, I have to use double backtick markers, and then clock is marked as a signal name, as a special name in typewriter setting, and so on.
Okay.
And for this example here, this command is creating a new attention box with a red exclamation mark, and this is the text. So you know there are some special rules for this IP core. So this is read the docs. Are there other questions?
So, I mean, all my documentation right now is in Word, and I deliver PDFs. PDFs right now are user guides, so there's a substantial amount of information in there. I don't really want to re-author it into another document system and read the docs.
I think you don't have to. I think we should use it only for the new CoreLib, I think, and the OSVVM stuff is linked or used by the CoreLib. Maybe, if I understand it right.
Read the docs itself can create more than HTML documentation. You have a menu on the bottom, and you can select
Patrick,
PDF.
It's all neat, but the problem is I'm not 100% of the time connected to the internet. I'm traveling here and there, and sometimes the internet connection is really shoddy. And so going out into a web-based system like this isn't all that exciting to me. I would like something that, you know, that when I'm sitting on the airplane, I can do stuff and that sort of stuff. I mean, I think it's a good target to have it out there, but, you know, I just have mixed feelings. Well, yeah, I have mixed feelings about it, is basically what it comes down to.
Okay, I think I can address it. On the one hand, you can download your PDF before, and you can take it with you. So you have the last version when you downloaded it, and you can run it on your local machine. So for the POC repository, if I go to the docs folder here, there's a make file. This is all running on my local machine. I don't need any internet connection. You just need the Python installation and the Sphinx packages. Everything is on your local machine. It's generating the HTML files. So
And it
first
works
reading.
with the version 3 of Python?
Yes.
Okay.
But Sphinx works with 2.7 as well, right?
Yes, it's working.
I just want to, if I'm going to install Python, I want to install the new one.
It works with both 2.7 and 3.5, I think.
Okay.
I don't recommend to install both Python versions on Windows. It gets very ugly. So then you can use your browser and open it on the local disk. So for me, it's d git poc docs. Then you get a build folder HTML, and there's an index HTML file, and you have everything here on your local machine. It's the complete same documentation.
Neat.
You can, I think there's also an option to generate only one HTML file. This one is creating many folders and sub files. But I think there's also the possibility to combine all documentation files into one and to create these Microsoft compiled HTML documentation files and so on. So there are many output engines.
Okay. As well as the rest of the world, HTML? Well, you said Microsoft, and that's almost a curse word, so.
With Microsoft, I mean the CHM files, compiled HTML documentation also. They shipped it with Windows 98 also. It's one of the old documentation systems in Microsoft.
Oh, okay. Cool. Got it. I understand now. So that's just one of the options.
So our goal is that everything is documented the same way using this.
I would prefer it.
Everything which is new in the CoreLib, I think. I don't think that we have to document all dependencies like OSVVM or unit already has it, or others to use this. But the new code which is checked in, I think that should use this.
Personally, I wouldn't mind doing this for the VHDL in VUnit, since we're using that type of documentation for Python. We just didn't have any means of doing that for VHDL so far. And I guess the most important documentation would be maybe to start with the APIs at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't have to document everything. Even VUnit Python documentation is kind of restricted. There's more work to be done. Just the basics.
And the API should be documented, but not the maybe the internal stuff, but that's not mandatory, I think.
Yeah.
I think the developer should know how to use data structures and watch which methods they have, but he don't have to read all internals of how is the method implemented and which algorithm it uses, because that's stuff which lies in the code, I think.
Yeah,
of course.
And we all write self-documenting code, right? So there's no need for it.
Yeah. Most of the time.
Maybe one point for Jim. You have in our case, we have the documentation of each IP core, and then you can write additional pages on. So we have a quick start guide and a guide on simulation. So you can write the normal stuff here, link images, like in your PDF files. So you have an introduction page and examples and so on, and then you have a chapter for the interface documentation. So it's not just about documenting the interface, you can write normal pages as well.
Yeah. And I guess what you're developing, what you're creating, auto-generating would be command reference.
Yeah.
And what I've been focusing on as much as a command reference is a user guide. So you're writing this part in the markup language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I go to the documentation folder, I have all these files here.
Yeah.
I just wrote the index RST file because this one is not auto-generated. So this is handwritten and all other files are generated. Or for
And generate page numbers and table of contents and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So when I generate a PDF file from it, I'll get like a table of contents for something.
Yes.
And it'll give a page number on in the PDF file.
I haven't tested the PDF export for POC.
Maybe we should do another proposal or something like that for this.
Yeah.
We have or we do the other points the next meeting.
Yeah. I just want to show here. So we have page numbers and.
I see the page numbers, but do you have like a table of contents?
Table of contents.
Index.
Yeah.
That.
That's okay. It's
With
broken.
more than just that in it, of course.
It's broken in the PDF file, but where's a good example? Here, this one. This is generated. So we have a markup command in
but when
RST.
that prints, when the quick start guide prints, does it give page numbers then? When it goes to PDF?
Yeah.
Page numbers, or I suppose, does it give hyperlinks? Hyperlinks are probably better.
I have only this. I don't know why it's broken. Why the index
Never
has
mind.
only one item, but you have the page number here and the link, and it's
Yeah.
linked in the PDF.
I guess I think we have more important things to talk about than an assembly of tools.
Yeah, of course. So this was Read the Docs. Travis CI. Like Read the Docs, we have the integration with Travis CI. On every push event, the Travis servers fetch our code. VUnit is executed as a test runner, and it's running all the test cases. And if the last command finishes with an exit code of, I think, 0, it's interpreted as a good run, and then the result is sent back to GitHub, and you get a green marker that all your committed code changes are good for the merge.
Sure.
So the simulator behind it is VHDL, and yes, the framework, the test runner is VUnit.
Maybe I should make a point there on VUnit. So VUnit has stuff that other people also provide. Hi, Jim. But I made an example on that playground repository where I show how you can. Okay, so VUnit will do the top level things.
Do you want to have the screen?
No, you can show. I guess.
Hey, Lars.
Hey.
I did. Okay, there we go. Does VUnit handles multi-threaded test benches, right? And all the examples I've seen are single-threaded.
Yeah, it does.
All right.
When you call the run script, you type -p and the number of threads that you want. So it will.
No. I mean multi-processes in the test bench.
Oh yeah, it does. It does. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I kind of figured it had to. I just.
Yeah. So I discussed with Patrick to demonstrate VUnit on another VUnit meeting. But basically, there's already an example on Playground. You see there the last
I see
5.
I don't see your screen.
No, Oh, you see me? Okay.
I have switched the screen to your, so you are on the camera.
Okay, so it's my screen now. Okay,
yep.
Good.
No, I don't see a screen. I see Lars.
Oh, that's terrible. Do you see a screen now? Or do you still see me?
Does anybody else see a screen?
Yeah, wait a minute. I should probably.
We have the webcam.
I see his webcam.
Yeah, wait a minute. Maybe if I
see verification is doing the same thing to his hair. Of course, if you look at the system Verilog guys, they're much worse.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Yes, I can see a screen now.
Great. So let's see what I have it. Didn't I just? Oh, here's VUnit, but let's go to. Okay, so on the playground, there's a test example called test bench synchronization with other checks. So just briefly, you need these 2 lines, include the context for VUnit into your test bench. And as you can see, I'm also including in this test bench OSVVM functionality for assertions and also UVVM functionality for assertions. So there's a complete mix in this test bench. Then you would always have in your test benches, I guess, some main process that do control the test bench. In unit testing, we call that the test runner. Can we call whatever, main or whatever. The important part is that you have to start with a call to the test run setup procedure. which takes a runner configuration, and the runner configuration is a generic. It's a string, and in that string is a lot of encoded commands for how the Python part of the unit wants to control the test bench. For example, what test cases should you run in case you have many test cases in the same test bench. So you need that, and you need that call to run a setup. And then at the end of your process, you need a call to test run a cleanup. That is essentially everything that you must have. Everything that goes in between can be your normal test bench code. It can be based on VHDL assert, OSVVM, UVVM, VUnit, or whatever. In this case, I've divided it up into test cases. I'm going to talk about this the next time, but essentially every test case is the code below a separate branch in an if and else if statement. So when you see something called run, this is a test case called test that an event is initially cleared using OSVVM. And then I can use alert if, or I can use check value, for example, which is from UVVM. And if that test case passes, or if it fails, VUnit will do the rest of the things such that that turns up as pass or fail on Travis.
How are you accumulating errors and stuff?
The default behavior of VUnit is to stop on the first failure. So the first failure will stop, or the first error. There is the way to say that, okay, I'm not going to stop on the first. I want it to continue. Maybe see if there are some other errors. If you do that, and you're not stopping your simulation, you will end up in this call. In this case, if you're not using the VUnit check procedures and functions, VUnit has no way of knowing that you did have some problems in your simulation. So there is an extra parameter to the test run cleanup call, essentially Boolean saying something went wrong. So if I'm using OSVVM, for example, there are functions to get the error counter. So I would do if the error counter is greater than 0. I can put in as a second parameter, and then VUnit will know, and it will make a kind of a fail exit when exiting from the test run cleanup function. So if we go back to let's see where we're moving. I think there is yeah, here you can see build pausing. That's a button that will take you to Travis. So here you will see all the branches that you have in CoreLib or in Playground in this example. And you will see what VUnit does. When Travis starts, it creates a virtual machine, installing Linux, installing Python, it's installing GHDL. I'm also in this case downloading UVVM for the example, and also somewhere it's installing here.
Where's it running?
What?
Is it running on my local machine, or is it running?
No, it's running in the cloud.
Okay.
So there are a bunch of servers located around the world that will run this for you, and also VUnit. Now, since OSVVM is a submodule of VUnit, you don't have to download or clone OSVVM from GitHub. Anyway, so once it does that, it will start VUnit. VUnit will compile itself, and then it will also start to compile UVVM, and somewhere along here will probably, yeah, since OSVVM is part of VUnit, you see it up here. Here you have OSVVM compiling. Eventually we'll come to the point where it has also compiled the actual test bench that we are testing. And then we will run the test cases one by one. And in this case, I have examples of both passing and failing test cases using both OSVVM, UVVM, and just old plain VHDL asserts. In this case, okay, there's a lot of warnings here. I think it's because UVVM are calling procedures from pure functions, so GHDL don't want them to do that. So that's why there's a lot of extra text. But I guess let's see if you can find OSVVM, Jim. Somewhere along here there is a failing OSVVM test. There is a failing. Where is that? Oh, never mind. I will do this another time. I will probably have more time. But you will see that summary report that OSVVM normally prints out. But in the end, you have the list of all the test cases, pass fail status, and yeah, something was not so good in this case. Normally, that would mean that it will be red up here. This branch turned red because it's failing. Now, since I expected some test cases to fail, I did a special thing, which essentially tells Travis that I'm expecting these test cases to fail. So if they do, everything is okay, and you should make it green anyway.
Is that a test case by test case?
Yeah. So in this case, I'm running each test case in a separate simulation. That's the default behavior of the unit. You can change that to run them all in the same simulation. But then, of course, if one test case fails, then the entire simulation stops, and it will not run the other test cases. So that's one of the reasons to run them in separate test cases, and you can know exactly what test cases.
It looked to me in some of that stuff like your test cases were all in the same VHDL file. Yeah,
in this case, they are all in the same VHDL file. But what VUnit does is, since the construct we are using, it recognizes that, okay, in your file you have 10 test cases. They are named like this. Okay, so I'm going to start the simulation, and I want to run one test case at a time. So since it was an if statement calling that run function will check that input generic, the runner configuration. In that runner configuration, it's a long string. It will look for that name. So is the Python code telling me to run this test case? Yes, no. So I can control the test bench from outside which test case to run in each simulation, and the default is to run them one by one. So there will be actually 10 simulations if you have 10 test cases.
Separate simulation runs or 10 consecutive in the same file?
No, 10 separate.
That's
interesting. And that's also the reason why you can run them simultaneously in several threads, so you can make use of all the CPU cores on your computer and not just one, which would normally be the case if you're running simulators.
I suppose that's nice when you're using GHDL and you have an infinite number of licenses.
Yeah, exactly. But you can use ModelSim Altera Edition, something like that as well.
Okay.
But it is possible if you want to run them all in the same simulation. But the reason why we're not really recommending that is because, for example, if you have one test case failing, it may leave your design in a state such that the next test case will also fail, although it was nothing wrong with the next test case. It was just because it started in some funny state it was failing. So if you run them in separate simulations, you can be sure that they are independent, unless you do some funny communication over files or something like that. Exactly. But since also that, let's see if I can find my way back. to test bench. Since you also have this while loop, so around the test cases, around the branches of the if statement is a while loop. So if I'm running every test case one after each other, you will do this loop 5 times maybe in this case. So in the first loop, it will run the first test case. In the second loop, it will run the second test case and so on. So just after the loop here, you can put in some initialization code, like doing a reset on my device or something like that. So you have the possibility to reinitialize your device between the test runs. But if, for example, you have registers with default values, that might not be so easy if you don't have a reset signal, for example. So restarting the simulation is really the only way to be sure that you're really initialized.
Lars, can you go to the pull request 1 on Playground? So we can show how the merge process interacts with Travis.
Oh, here, the pull request?
Yes, the closed one. Click on closed.
Yes.
The testing.
Yeah, you did a pull request. That's right. Yeah, so
we
Patrick
tested.
made a pull request for adding that Travis button, which I clicked to get to Travis. And I think it's the green mark here that tells that.
Yes, you can click.
Travis has run.
You can click on view details.
Yeah.
So here we have the list of all checks which have passed. One is that Lars signed the license agreement, and the second one is that his code, which was checked on Travis, had a good run. So it's also green. And this was the marker for me that I can integrate his code, and I did a merge.
Yeah, so then you did a merge afterwards, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how you work with it.
So if a user contributes code which is failing in test cases, I will see it, or any other maintainer can see it, and we could reject the merge until the test cases are fixed.
Yeah.
So this is the integration, the way back from Travis to GitHub.
Exactly.
Are there other questions?
It checks that I can use Travis without any VUint or OSVVM if it passes. It only passes the VHDL output, or
no. Travis itself is a build server.
yes.
It's meant to build your software. So usually you have a C project also, and you get an executable, and we are using this functionality to run test cases. And the last command run on the shell, this exit code is used, and there's a green line: Python Travis py build name exited with 0. It's marked green, and this is a result transferred back to GitHub.
So the return code, return value of the compiled VHDL test bench is used for Travis.
Exactly.
Okay.
There are other tools as well. For example, one called Jenkins that is very much used by people in the software industry. Okay. For those tools, VUint has an export format of the report, which essentially is an XML format where you put all the test suites and the test cases, their names, their execution times, and so on. So if you're running Jenkins on a local server, you will have more fancy reporting based on that XML file. But with Travis, I think the only way is that it simply prints whatever comes out from your Python script, and then it only looks for the exit code to decide whether or not this is something I should color green or color red.
So in our case, all tests that are not that are failed should stop the simulation, so we can and so that Travis can see that our one test case haven't run in a good way. So okay.
So whatever assertion library you're using, as long as it stops, VUnit will consider that as a failure. It will consider it a failure when the simulation ends without passing that test run a cleanup call. But then, as Jim also asked, is it possible to postpone that, not to stop on the failing check? That is possible, but then you have to tell that test run a cleanup call that, okay, I did have some errors in my simulation. And what you typically would do with one of those assertion libraries is that you read out the error counter, and if that's greater than 0, you put that as the Boolean expression for the second parameter to that call, and VUnit would know, even though you're not using the built-in functionality of VUnit.
Yeah, in OSVVM, I kind of use error to indicate it's a test error, but it's not fatal, and that the test should run to completion, because I want to know, how many other errors the test is generating is very relevant at that point. Also, to a point. I mean, but OSVVM also gives you that possibility to set the alert stop count, to any limit that you want to set for any of the possible warning, error, and failure. Yeah,
we have some similar things. I think UVVM has it too.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's important. That is okay to do like that. It's perfectly okay.
So,
but in the end, it's important to know that with unit testing, you have to decide what is an error and what is not. It's not like if you have a warning, you print it out on the screen for someone to look at. No one ever looks at the logs once Travis showing that everything is green. So you have to decide, is this an error that should turn out to be a failed test case, or is it not? But sure, you don't have to stop at the first error, because if you continue, you might get some more information that can be valuable for debugging. For example, if it's a long test run, you don't want to start from the beginning again. Yeah.
So how close together are our packages, our alert log stuff?
I think much of the functionality is overlapping, at least if you look at the.
But can we? Is there a way to bring them together?
I have. I've been thinking about it, and it's hard because there are some. Well, it's going to be a long discussion. So just let's say for now that there are some architectural differences that means that you can do things with the VUnit logging and assertion library that I don't think you can do with either UVVM or OSVVM. I think I will go through that on my presentation if it's next time. So I think that might, if we were to think that, okay, could we incorporate that difference into OSVVM? Sure, we can do that. But it will probably have a fundamental effect, so that will kind of change the APIs and such, that your current users there will be a problem with the backward compatibility, I guess.
Well, the cool thing about OSVVM API right now is it's regular subprograms that are calling into a protected type. And there's a lot of possibility for maintaining backward compatibility there. I mean, the aliases and all that kind of stuff. So I just think, though, that we've got to get somewhere, because if we're developing common sets of new packages, it behooves us to call one alert log library. They've got to be calling something. And for OSVVM, these packages, if they're calling something other than OSVVM, they're not useful. Or if
No.
they're not calling something that doesn't report into the same alert log structure somehow, they're not useful because the test isn't going to have access to them.
Exactly. And so I think I would very much like to have that discussion and see what can be done.
Yeah.
So for now, I kind of avoiding that issue altogether by saying that, okay, in this way I showed you right now, you can use all OSVVM like you're doing it today.
Yeah.
And the only thing that we really require from vUnit in this case is the top level functionality, which is not part of what either OSVVM or UVVM are offering.
Yeah.
So, but agreed. Can
And
this
has Espen
converge somehow? Yeah.
Has Espen given any indication that he's interested in coming and playing in our sandbox?
I'm not sure if it's been around here. I think that would be a question for Patrick, I guess. Have you seen any?
I have seen no such interest.
Okay.
I have,
have you directly emailed him?
No.
Okay.
So I've had the discussions with OSVVM along the way through the years, and the farthest, this is how far we got, that you can use the top layers of vUnit together with UVVM. And once we made that work, it also made OSVVM work directly because, yeah, it was a similar problem, I guess.
Right.
So I think we need to continue, but as a work item, Jim, can you write a proposal with a list of the interface for alert log?
Well,
so you can copy the code, what functionality is needed, what methods, and then we can start to
Patrick, I don't think it's about the methods. I think it's about I think what we need to talk about is what is the core functionality you must have. Meaning, like, and Lars and I talked a little bit about this offline. Like, I think the library has to be compiled, period, and that nothing that any one package does is going to be disruptive and trigger a compile on, unless it's a low-level library. It's not going to trigger a compile on the whole thing. So if the user changes something. And that's one of the issues I see with UVVM, or UVVM, excuse me, is that he's got a fundamental, what is it?
You have
Enumerated type.
You have to copy package and all of that.
Yeah. So, for me, that's a non-starter. And also, he doesn't do hierarchy worth, without a lot of work. And I don't know that he can report hierarchically from a central place. And these are what I mean by requirements for me. I mean, the API we can work out, I think.
So how should we? I guess, I mean.
But to proceed on this, I think it's a little early.
Yeah.
We need people first to present what they have, and then we can search for commonality or maybe projects where we can try to merge parts of two projects.
Yeah. Well, let's for the presentation I will make on vUnit, whenever that will be, those 50 minutes that Patrick suggested. Mm-hmm. Let me try to focus somewhat on the differences I see as well.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I mean, I've tested OSVVM and I tested UVVM, so I'm sure I don't know all the details, but I know at least some of the differences that I see, and maybe highlight them a bit.
And does vUnit have any transaction interface, model interface type solution?
I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that.
What is your strategy if you have bus functional models and stuff that you integrate in your simulations?
So the core, let's say the core of vUnit doesn't deal with transactions. That's something that you have to invent yourself, or use some of the things that's provided elsewhere. But then we have another of add-ons. One such add-on is the COM package, or
I kind of saw some stuff about that, and
so that's essentially a way to try to implement asynchronous message passing in VHDL, which of course can be used as the basis for transactions.
Uh-huh.
But
if I understand it correctly, VUnit is just like JUnit and all of that. It's more of a testing execution strategy. And
I mean,
the way you do your test itself, that's totally up to you, the methodology that you use beyond that.
Yeah, I mean, VUnit doesn't...
Right, but I think...
The start point for VUnit was unit testing, but then we added some extra stuff that we think, well, this is useful, but we added them as add-ons, so they are not even compiled by default when you run VUnit. But VUnit core is kind of completely independent if you want to use file-based testing, or if you want to use transactions or constrained random. It's working in another dimension, so to speak.
Yeah. We need a if we're going to stay successful against system Verilog and stuff, we need a transaction interface. I mean, Synthworks has one. I'm not pleased with it. And I saw your stuff, Lars, and I was interested in that. But Synthworks stuff is actually going to line up pretty nicely with where IEEE is going. But we need to be able to have a community of developers who are either developing open source and/or for sale bus functional models for stuff.
Yeah.
And we particularly need that because we've got to counter everything that seems to be coming out of Xilinx and Altera these days seems to be system Verilog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we need to get a way to, I mean, if we don't have that kind of stuff in, I see this project as a methodology. I mean, and you might see it as a low-level library. From OSVVM perspective, I don't care about a low-level library. I mean, it would be helpful to have, but what I think we need for the VHDL industry is we need the whole shebang for test benches. So, and I realize Espen's doing some of that, but he's like doesn't really want to play with other people. It doesn't seem like. I mean, he seems like it's a corporate strategy, and he wants to be all or nothing. Or he wants to be all, I guess, is it.
Maybe we delay this discussion.
Yeah, I guess it's something I'm going to solve today, but I agree that we need to take some action in that area. I'm not sure exactly what the first action should be, though.
Of course, and my plan is, it is one of the next slides, that every existing open source project gets some minutes here, maybe 15 minutes or half an hour to present itself, and then we can talk much more in detail about this project. So can we go on to the next item?
Yeah, please.
Maybe
I think everyone is using Gitter and has a login there. So it's a chat. We have this public group, this public room. Everyone can write there, and every registered user can create private rooms to other people, and then you have private conversations. And many people already started discussion on interfaces and so on. So it's very active. And you can use Markdown code in the chat. So you can copy and paste code snippets, URLs, images, and so on.
And what Markdown is it using?
Sorry?
What Markdown format is it using? I guess Twiki uses Markdown also, right? And so does GitHub, and it's all different.
I think it's using the extended Markdown from GitHub.
Okay.
So there's a standard for Markdown, and GitHub has some extensions for code blocks and so on.
Yeah,
So you know how to highlight VHDL, for example.
Yeah.
I think they have a help button under below the lower edge of the browser for the markdown. I think like in M or something like that.
So here is the markdown help.
Yeah.
How'd you get that up?
There's a M and the arrow to the down.
Yeah.
You click on it and you get a pop-up.
It's the same for GitHub issues or GitHub wiki or GitHub blah blah.
Huh.
The same markdown.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
they
I'm mostly using it on my cell phone. So does all that stuff work on Android?
I haven't tested it on a mobile device.
The GitHub lines are not very good for cell phone. For iOS, it's not very good for long messages.
I made an example of what the code looks like when posted on.
And I just wanted.
Oh yeah, I saw all the cool stuff you were doing. I just didn't know how you were doing it.
And you can also link to YouTube videos. We had a test yesterday for the recordings. So I was surprised to see an inline video box. So this is the point on Gitter. Then DokuWiki. It's a wiki engine from Germany, and it's very famous if you want to use it for documentations. I'm just using this one for the collection of proposals. I have already installed many plugins, like the vote plugins and user pages and whatever. So if anyone needs more plugins, just contact me.
You're putting that on a website, an external website, right?
Yeah, it's a free server in the UK.
Sure. But how do you back it up?
If I go to
you're downloading your stuff, yeah?
Yes, I can
download everything. Okay, that's all I want to check, because when these guys disappear because their business model didn't work, I want to know that we have some continuity.
Yeah, there's a download button. You get a zip file with all contents. Every text is saved in text files, so it's no database.
I know there's a way to save it. That's all. I don't care how at this point. I just want to make sure.
We use it on at work, and also we use it because you don't have to have any database. It's only text file, so you can do an easy backup, copying all the folder, and that's the DokuWiki.
So you have it as an internal serve thing, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's on your intra and it doesn't go outside.
Okay, we have an intranet with DokuWiki, with the Baxilla and something like that, and we use DokuWiki as wiki.
Okay, I like it.
So this is a list of proposals. Some people contributed already new proposals. I've copied proposals from the IEEE working group.
Yeah.
And the old proposals named TBV.
Yeah.
I think it's an older team.
They are part of the 2000X effort. It was intended to be the next thing, and then Accelerator just wasn't going forward.
So the old texts and source code examples are also here in this wiki. For everyone who is not used to DokuWiki, you have this trace bar on the top, and you can go to your last pages. So it's a new style of navigation. You have a table of content, and you can edit sub-paragraphs. So you don't have to use the edit this complete page button here on the right side. You can just click on one sub-paragraph, and it's for all text between two headlines. Yeah, and I started two administrative proposals, one for the license. I think we will delay this discussion to the next meeting. And I already explained in the meeting how the Git flow works, what my idea is for a Git flow. So I will write down the rules as a proposal and everyone can comment on it. So this is the list of proposals, and we have a list of existing open source projects. For example, where is vUnit? vUnit is here. Everyone with an open source project can write a simple page, a little header on the license, some links to the documentation or the repository or to a contact, and then you can explain what your project can achieve. If it's IP cores or testing equipment or Python stuff, whatever. So this is the main page to collect existing code. So yeah, and you can find all users here in the list of users. So are there any questions to the wiki? No. I don't know if we need this feature. There's a website called copra.io. If one needs to do code sharing and collaborative coding, one can upload a source file into it, and both persons or even more persons can type in the same file. So if such a feature is needed, this web page can be used. What's next on my list? Oh, the roadmap. There's also a page for roadmap. My basic idea for this group is that we start with the infrastructure. This is already done. Except for the mailing list, I have some problems to send emails from the UK. I have invited many peoples and organizations to the new group. So currently I think we have 14 people in the GitHub group. Many existing open source projects are already listed in the wiki, and this was the agenda for today. We have a meeting. Okay, it's also done. Yeah, we have a repository, and I think we can start to work on the proposals and on the code. Have we achieved this roadmap? Yeah. So maybe if we have first packages and so on, we get some sponsors also. So we get rid of the server in the UK and get a real URL. This would be a great step.
Sigasi can do that. So we own the right to VHDL.net.
Wow.
And I can give you... There are possibilities for server space.
So maybe like a subdomain corelib.vhdl.net or something like this?
We might be able to get .org also.
Okay.
Because Dask has that right now, or EDA, the old EDA.org had VHDL.org, so that might become available.
Okay.
Okay.
So we might be able to get it for the asking. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they're doing with it and what their intent is. They had some old RASC stuff. It was the old government program in US.
Okay.
About rapid prototyping of signal processors. I don't really want that whole stuff around, but still.
So having a real web server could solve the problem with sending emails. I tried to link the Doku wiki with a separate Google account, but I can't send emails because Google notices that I can't send emails from the UK while I'm sitting in Dresden.
Yeah.
And it's blocking all my accounts. I tried to get the Doku wiki developers to implement this, how it is called, OAuth, the O authentication method. but they use a plugin, and this plugin needs to be updated. And I contacted the plugin developer. They have a release, and now the chain is going back to the DokuWiki developers. So maybe
the question is, how would you prefer that this is done? There's two ways. Either you guys set up some kind of a PayPal account and you accept donations, or you work directly with us and we just look for. We provide you with some access to some server. Maybe we can take this discussion offline.
Yeah. Okay. But this would be a great achievement if we have some free space with a good URL. The wiki doesn't require many resources, so it's just PHP, no database, and one email address to send the login data for new users.
Yeah, sure.
That's everything. And
do you think that it would be possible to have simulator vendors sponsor with simulation licenses for the test server?
Once we get somewhere, I can arrange that.
Yeah,
and
because
I think, yeah.
I mean, I know that they are a bit. They don't want you to publish comparison when it comes to performance and stuff like that.
Yes.
If you do a test survey, it will become obvious who's best at doing VHDL 2008 and who's not doing so good. There used to be a site called
EDA Playground.
No, not EDA Playground. I was thinking about Open Corps. The people behind CocoTB.
Yeah, but Open Corps is a collection of existing test runs. I think the idea behind this is to collect data from Travis and from Jenkins, and to create a database of failing and passing IP cores or libraries.
Because I thought they had some deal with LDEC such that it would be possible to run our test cases on their servers using LDEC licenses.
Okay.
I mean, when we test vUnit, we do that with 4 different simulators, I guess. Those are the licenses we have, but we cannot do it in public like we do with GHDL and the Travis. So if people push code, they will only see if it works on GHDL, not on the other simulators.
It looks like EDA Playground has access to a number of simulators. And I don't see why any of those wouldn't be interested in giving us licenses for this project.
Yeah.
This sort of thing. And I'm surprised I'm actually surprised I don't see Mentor on there.
I think that EDA Playground is being run by the people from Doulos.
It is.
And they have access to all the simulators.
Yeah. Well, they don't have Mentor on there, though, on the commercial simulators.
Maybe they're not allowed anymore, I don't know.
Yeah.
And there are also some restrictions, I think, on what size of code that you can run under EDA.
Yeah, but that's based.
We're running it privately to test stuff as opposed to running it publicly for everyone else. It's a different story, right?
Yeah.
We don't need something that runs stuff for everyone. We need stuff that runs stuff on a regression, and it doesn't have to tell us pass or fail right away. It could delay 30 minutes for all I care.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that once we have something basic, some code that can be tested and all of that we can convince the people from Aldec at least to help us out with this.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we'll have several interested parties.
Okay. The license question. Do we want to delay this to the next meeting, or do we want to start to discuss licenses?
I think this is a long discussion, so I think we should delay
So-
probably. Yeah.
So we make a separate meeting on this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you using right now, Lars?
We're using Mozilla Public License 2.0. And it's like everyone else says, I'm not a lawyer, but that seems reasonable to me.
Yeah.
I could read it and I could understand it, and I didn't think the wording was indicating software as much as some of the other licenses are doing.
Right.
And I wanted something that would kind of business friendly, but at the same time sort of describe the intent that if you do develop something for vUnit, I want you to contribute and not keep it for yourself.
My restriction is if you develop something for OSVVM, and this is why I picked the one I did. If you develop something for OSVVM and you distribute it to anybody outside your own organization, thou shalt distribute it to everyone.
Exactly.
If you don't distribute it outside your own organization, I don't care what you do.
Now, I think most licenses wouldn't cover that. The problem, I guess, is that if someone makes, at least from my point of view, if someone makes improvements on a test environment, that is typically not distributed outside of the company. So, but at least I've tried to explain my intent with that license.
So you want people to distribute it no matter what, give it back no matter what.
Yeah, at least to make a suggestion to incorporate what they've done into the main repository. Yeah, we might say that, oh, we don't think that fits, or it's out of the scope of vUnit or whatever, but at least show what they've done, and so we can.
But they wouldn't have to share code.
Yeah, eventually they would have to if it's going to be a part of vUnit.
Yeah, that's. I think for a lot of organizations in the mil-aero market, that's a non-starter.
Yeah, that's probably a problem. I know where I've been working, test code is completely different than code that eventually goes into the products, because the test code is not really part of their secret sauce, but still it's still a lot of people that have to sign papers and make decisions, and it can be hard even to get open source into the organization in the first place. So
yeah.
I think we for example have the test code is given to the ministry, which checks for. We do designs for public authorities, and this includes not only the RTL code but also the test code, which tests are done. And so it can be that it could be that the test code is then with a restriction, and not a license restriction, but an authority restriction, like restricted or geheim of the
disclosed.
Closed. So it's legally. I'm not allowed legally to give it outside of the company. If I would do it, I would go to jail. And so if I had such and such a license,
do it for a good cause.
like LGPL or GPL, that would be definitely a non-starter. That would be a so I have, for me, I think stuff like OSVVM, which is linked from outside. So this code isn't. Maybe this works, but when I use a function and from it and then paint it and use it in an own environment, then it works. It doesn't work anymore. So from my point of view, the license shouldn't be too restrictive. Maybe or BSD or something like that. Or I don't know, Apache 2.0 or MIT, or there are thousands of licenses.
Yeah, my concern is, though, that I don't want another training company to take OSVVM code, make it a heck of a lot better, and then distribute it to their customers, and not distribute it to anybody else.
Yeah. I don't know if that intention should be the same for this project, but maybe. because I don't know if simulator vendor ships this library. Maybe they implement some of the functions in own C code to run it faster. Is that allowed by the license or not?
Well, yeah, that would have to be something authored in. That would have to be something I was thinking about. I've thought about that too, and it's basically the vendors could release things as compiled binaries with improvements as long as they implement the package, as long as they don't extend the package itself, the package interface itself.
Okay.
I mean, it's very clear in VHDL. You implement the package declaration exactly as it is. You can do anything you want in the body to improve it.
Okay.
As I mentioned before, I started a proposal for the license.
Yeah, maybe we should,
and I wrote down some goals. Maybe for the next meeting we can review these goals if they are good, if there should be other goals, and then we can start to pick a license which achieves these goals.
Or author one.
Or yeah, of course.
If that's what it needs to be.
Yep.
I think that's a non-starter.
I hear what you're saying, but
because I mean, a license is something that, as an engineer,
yeah,
you need to take that thing and you need to go to a legal department, and they have to say yes or no.
Right, but I understand. But everybody has to review it, have it reviewed anyway, and you can structure it so that it is easy to review.
But if your company has already reviewed a patch license, for example, they know what they are dealing with, so they don't have to check a patch a second time.
And any company that does anything with...
They've got to review every file when they get it. They can't trust that you faithfully reproduce the Apache license when you wrote it, even though you say this is the Apache license.
Yes, you can, because you have the license is included in the repository, but every source file is referring to an URL. So you have only a URL to the apache.org website, and it's stating this is the license with this URL. You can download it here.
Right.
The file in your repository is just for the user which have no internet access also. And every file has its own license, but usually you use the same license for every file.
What we do with VUnit is that we have a license note, the short version in each source file, and then part of the acceptance testing is a script that actually checks that everything that's included in VUnit has that piece of text. And if it doesn't, then well, then Travis will go red.
Okay.
So it's not hard to make sure that you really have it everywhere. It's an easy fix.
So here's an example.
Does Apache have any donate back clause?
No.
No. Apache is one of the most liberal ones.
Oh, this is POC. This isn't VUnit. I thought this was POC for a minute. Sorry.
This is POC.
Yeah.
And you have the copyright note, and it's stating it's licensed under Apache license 2.0, and here's the URL, and that's everything.
Yeah.
And some special sentence here from the US, as is, basics, and so on.
Right.
But that's everything.
Yeah.
I have to leave. I have another appointment.
Okay.
Okay. You can watch the video on YouTube. So it's recorded, and you can continue to watch the rest.
I need to wrap up soon too.
I think the link is delivered in the video, or
what link?
To the YouTube video. Where's the link?
That's a good question.
Maybe if you know it, you can.
I will pass it to the Gitter chat.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Okay.
Okay. Then see you next time.
See you next time.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Torsten.
Yeah.
So my last slide for today, formats for the next meeting. My idea is we have the list of existing open source projects, that we have meetings to show each other the existing code or the functionality. So maybe prepare some slides, a short demonstration with your command line or with your tool. And so we see what the project has done, what it can be used for. And after that, there's a part for questions, like we did today for vUnit. And I think then everyone who is contributing and attending the meetings here is speed up and sees what exists. So how many minutes do we want to spend on this? 15, 30? I don't know how long your usual presentations are.
Mine
long
are
is it?
about an hour per section. So
But we
that's
don't
not even,
really need
that's
to
not even a
know.
starter. So I could do a highlight.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yes,
a
more
one
like
pager per package. I mean, that's really, you know, it's not practical to talk about what OSVVM does.
No.
but you have a quick start example, so you can guide us through this example. Maybe start with a little bit of code and then how you plug in OSVVM, how you run it, how you maybe do an improvement. So we get a short intro how you take your existing code and plug in OSVVM.
To me, what's more important is to know what is inside of your library, what are the separate functions, and where do you see a need to improve things, where you say, but I can't do this alone, or this is interesting things that should be shared with other projects.
Okay, that sounds good.
So not necessarily the functionality. It's not necessarily the how it's used and all of that I'm interested in. It's more what's inside of it and what parts is it made of. Because
So more
OSVVM
details.
kind of feels, for instance, like more like actually a collection of libraries if I look at it.
Yeah.
You have a memory
But
package.
It's also, you know, what I see as OSVVM. We don't release what I would consider to be the long-term full version of OSVVM at this point, because I see it as being a whole methodology, just the way Espen sees UVVM as a whole methodology. I see OSVVM as a whole methodology that buttons right down to how to do transaction interfaces and such, and has a number of synchronization primitives that you know, it'd be nice to partner with everybody here and get a common set that we all think is useful.
Yes.
Or superset, I guess, of everybody's stuff. But I really want to see a complete methodology come out of this. Something that we can say that we could tell Xilinx and Altera, hey, this is a library that we're starting to develop and this is the methodology behind it, and you can do everything you need. Everything you can do with System Verilog, you can do with this, including build your models in a sensible way. And I think I personally think if we fall short of that, it's not going to be interesting. It's not going to be compelling enough. So
we have presentations from POC, vUnit, OSVVM. Lieven, do you want to present Zigasi or the editor, or?
I don't think it's useful. It's that interesting.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a library, right?
Yeah. And your example code for VHDL 2008 primitives, you said you started some code for lists also. Is there
Yes, I have
something?
code for lists and I have code for associative arrays actually, but I should just commit that. We have a GitHub account where it's some form of it is already pushed, and I just have to push the rest of it.
Okay, so
It's more of an exploration of the design, of course. It's more of like when I was talking about, do you do it with protected types or do you do it only with records or etc.
okay, so there's no need from your side. Eve, do you have something?
No, I'm new to the open source community, so I have no code to share.
Okay, so we have for the starting point 3 presentations, and if other parties are interested, we can schedule next meetings on that.
Yeah.
Should we reach out to the Bitfizz guys directly?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's going to be helpful and it might be disruptive, but I think we need to do it.
Yes.
Because there's definitely huge dissenting opinions on how things are done.
Okay. I contacted David Koons, and Tristan is on board, but just with support for VHDL. He has some other tasks to achieve. What other guys?
Yeah, that's something else I was wondering about. I mean, if you're predicating a lot of stuff on testing with VHDL, what about things that VHDL doesn't support yet? Because the scoreboard package I have is a generic package, and there's no way around it.
I think you need to wait 1 more week.
Oh, really? Is it that close?
I wrote an email to Tristan and I said, here, this is a new group. Do you want to participate? And we need function parameters on protected types, and what was the other thing? Type generics on packages. And he said, do you really need it? And I said, yes, we have an implementation here. This is the code. And he said, okay, I will start. And he's working for 2 weeks on this feature.
Wow.
And I think he implemented nested packages. This was the first step. And the second step he's currently working on is type parameters and function parameters. So I think 1 week or 2 weeks. And this is the last item for the final release on version 0.34.
Cool.
That would be good.
Yes.
So
be awesome.
He's hoping to do type generics in 2 weeks. That's ambitious.
Should we sing a song or something?
Seems like an ambitious.
So VHDL.
I think I've seen some constants on packages. That's what I've seen.
Yeah.
He already implemented the parser, so my code is parsing, but then there are internal errors while copying values and so on, but it's just under development.
Okay.
I also contacted, what was the name? Kevin from New York. He has a big library on physical types and functions for synthesis. Maybe he will answer. Martin J. Thompson is on board.
Yeah. How about, did you try connecting with any of the guys out of Case Western Reserve? They had that GPL strings library, but more interesting, they had a way to do sockets in VHDL.
Okay.
And it might have been a Unix only thing, but you know, it's still a start.
Can you contact them?
I've tried, and I haven't been able to. Nobody's responded.
Okay.
It's almost like the server's still there, but the people who worked on it aren't.
I got an email from Ernst from the other VHDL working group, the AMS
Yes.
group, and they have a big package on table transformations, and
Okay.
they want to contribute this one. And
Interesting.
I have a local contact here, the I think the vice chair of this
Elaine?
group is here in Dresden,
Okay.
Joachim Hase, and we are already in contact how to contribute this package.
Okay. What's his
So-
name?
Joachim Hase.
Okay.
I think he's the secretary of the other working group.
Okay.
So we will do.
Anybody know how to do FrameMaker documents?
No.
Multi-level FrameMaker documents?
I haven't done FrameMaker in 20 years. That's a long time ago.
I used it once, probably about that long ago.
Are you looking for people to edit LRM?
I am.
Does anybody have a license for it?
I don't. Uh-oh, Levin's crying.
Most documentation or writing on in the university is done with LaTeX. So we do everything here with LaTeX code. So for the presentations, 30 to 60 minutes. Is this a good time?
For each or for the total?
For each. For each.
I was originally aiming for 50 minutes, and I felt that was kind of tough, but 30 minutes would be okay for me to just get an overview.
And you were
Depending
originally
on-
saying 15 minutes or 30 minutes?
Yeah, there was a discussion on Gitter about having 15 minutes. So I started a presentation which would last 15-ish kind of minutes.
Yeah.
But I guess if we're going to take some questions as well, I will need 30 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I think we should try to keep it short.
Yeah, I think so as well. But
Because-
15 minutes is really nothing. So
Because if I go for the long version, Patrick, it's going to be hours.
Okay.
So, and I don't want to do the long version. I don't think that's right for a meeting like this.
no.
So 15 to 30 minutes plus
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah.
Let's go for that.
And max. Okay. Can I start with the POC presentation? Or
okay
do we
for me.
want to use the first presentation on VUnit because it's used for the test cases?
Up to you guys.
What's-
Up here.
I would start with VUnit.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not a bad
Okay, so
idea.
I'll do
I'm
VUnit
really,
next time.
I'd be excited to get on board with VUnit and get some stuff going there, and I would be excited, Lars, to see your basic interface to your alert log package and what's going on with that.
Yeah, maybe we can have a discussion offline, and I can
Okay.
help you up getting started.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
So for the next meeting, we have a VUnit presentation. And maybe if there's time, I can do a second part on POC. And then we will need a third meeting for OSVVM.
Oh, you want to do them in separate meetings? Or were you thinking about trying to do them all in the same meeting?
Should fit 3 presentations with the time given.
How long did you want the meeting to be?
1.5 hours, up to 2 hours.
Okay.
We can do another vote on the meeting date.
Okay.
So we don't need short meetings on a regular schedule. We can do one meeting and with a longer time frame.
Okay.
So format.
I'll be back in the US by then, so it'll be better.
Lars, you will prepare some slides or text or whatever?
Yeah, I will probably do some slides for the introduction, and then I'm going to do some live coding. That's always interesting.
So, okay. If you want to do live coding, yes, you can present your editor or your console. Or maybe if you need a more interactive one, you can use the Cobra IO. So everyone can type in.
Yeah, I would pretty much
type.
Yeah, I would pretty much have
alternatives.
prepared all the code, but then showing how to run V in it, because we don't need to develop a piece of code from scratch. It's more interesting to show how everything fits together with running from the command line and with VUnit and so on. I think.
Okay. So task for me. Open a new vote. So, are there other open questions or items on the list for today, or can I stop the recording? And then we can, of course, have other discussions in the Hangout, but for the recorded session, is there anything open?
I don't think so.
So, saved. And
so Pat,